Hello and welcome to the UTV Vodcast. I'm Carol Jordan, one of UTV's news editors. This week we're looking at the 2025 ITV News Traineeship. I'm joined by Maria Hassan, our present trainee, and Jordan Moore, a former ITV trainee and now turned on-screen journalist. Thanks for joining me, guys. So firstly, Maria, I'm going to come to you. You are in the middle, almost near the end actually, of your traineeship. How have you found it so far?
I think it's been one of the best experiences that I've ever had in not only my working life, but also in my life in general. I think it's pushed me out of my comfort zone in the very best way. And I think the unique mix of practical experience as well as structured learning and support has really just brought on my skills as a journalist more than I could really have imagined.
Now, I'm really interested in people's personal stories. What was it that sort of enticed you into applying for the traineeship?
So I think whenever I was younger, I had always wanted to be a journalist, but for a number of reasons, I'd thought that an opportunity like this was out of my reach. And I think I let a lot of people talk me out of pursuing a career in journalism because of the financial challenges, worries about a lack of opportunities for career starters within the industry. But after COVID, I thought that I really owed it to myself to pursue my dreams, and thankfully I was lucky enough to get a position on this year's traineeship, and I'm hoping that this is the start of a long career in an industry that I really, really love.
Now, when I started, it wasn't that long ago, a couple of decades, we didn't really have paid traineeships. You know, I've seen a couple of internships that, I've seen in other newsrooms throughout the years, and often it's sort of sink or swim mentality. They throw interns into the thick of it and see how they get on. But this actually has a much more structured approach, does it not?
Yeah, and I think that unique blend of training and practical experience is something that's really unique to the traineeship. And I do think there's also quite a pastoral element to it as well. You know, you have a lot of mentors here at the newsroom in Belfast, as well as a wider network within ITV of different trainers and industry leaders who are prepared to share with you not only their skills, but their personal experiences as well. And I think it's that kind of advice and encouragement that has also been amazing, as well as the kind of legal and practical training that we get as well.
And I'm going to turn to you, Jordan. I'm going to ask you the same question before we talk about your heights of fame that you've reached now. But what actually enticed you into going for the traineeship? Because you didn't necessarily come from a journalism background, did you?
No, my undergrad was completely different. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and finally settled on doing journalism and was doing my master's in journalism. And there was one of my friends was applying for the traineeship at the time, and it was recording a video for it. And I thought to myself, I was like, what are you doing, basically? And I asked them, and it's like, oh, it's the ITV traineeship. And at that point, I didn't know anything about it. And that day was the deadline for applying. So I was like, oh, sounds great, I'll go home, apply, whatever. And then here I am. So I think coming from a position of not knowing anything about the ITV traineeship, and kind of even when I applied, I thought, I don't really know what this is it really for me? Because I think the name traineeship can kind of put people off. I think people maybe think, it's that intern vibe and that type of thing, but it's not like that at all. You come in, you're straight in the newsroom straight away. It's a job first and foremost, where you learn on the job and get to do everything that you think any journalist in broadcasting would do. So I think that's one of the key things for me is you're learning on the job. It's not an extension of a master's or an undergrad or anything like that. It is a full job, and you're fired straight in at the deep end. But as Maria said, you have all that support as well with you.
And you've obviously gone on to become one of our on-screen journalists, our Northwest OSJ. Did what you learn in the course of the traineeship actually pay you dividends as you sort of moved ahead and along in your career?
Massively. I think one of the key things the traineeship gives you is confidence. So you go in straight away, you're working in the newsroom, you're learning on the job, but when you're away doing the different meetups you have with other trainees, you all come together, you all have the same issues and problems. And I think that's a nice part of the traineeship is you meet up with other trainees who are all in the same stage as you. I think if you're in a newsroom on your own, you can feel detached and that you're maybe, at the bottom of the food chain, that type of thing. Once you go and meet up with them, everybody is in the same position. That gives you confidence. So when you do end up going out and going on screen and doing things like that, you're in a good position, you know that you can do it. And I think a lot of the job when it comes to that is having that confidence. The training you get as well, from court reporting to self-shooting, how to do piece to cameras, how to script, it's all top of the range, standard. You're taught by experts in the field. So that gives you confidence and also gives you the skills you need. And I never once felt going out that I wasn't prepared to do something. I maybe didn't have the experience in the field, but I felt I knew what I was doing from what I'd been taught. So it's definitely an excellent training ground.
And Maria, Jordan hits on a really important point there about you're not alone. This is actually what many people might not know. It's an ITV-wide trainee scheme. So it means that there are people in every ITV region who are going through the same programme as you are. How important has that been for you?
Well, I think it's really like having 11 ready-made friends, people that have a shared interest with you. We all come from different parts of the UK. Everybody's got a different background, but we all have this shared interest in news and current affairs, which makes for some very, very interesting conversations. I think as well, it's also knowing, as Jordan said, that people are having the same worries, same anxieties as you, and having that open dialogue with other early career journalists in an industry that I know some people can find to be isolating and high pressure. But I think having that support group there, it really helps to allay those fears and worries. And, it's also great now to see so many people within not only our own cohort, but also previous trainees. You do kind of have that ready-made relationship with the likes of Jordan.
Jordan's an inspiration to us all, really, isn't he? Yeah. Jordan, if you were to think of one highlight of your traineeship, what would that be?
Highlight of my traineeship, and there's so many. I think my favourite part of the traineeship was probably whenever, at the end of the whole traineeship, you go over to Manchester and all the trainees come together and you do a mini final programme. So it's the equivalent of a half-an-hour broadcast you would see on UTV Live or any other ITV region, and you all get delegated different roles, and you just are left your devices for a week, go out, find your own stories, film them. You have people who are news editors, some people are working on cameras and stuff, and they usually send some of the heavy hitters up from London and stuff to kind of review it. So there's a bit of pressure there, but it's great fun. And I think that whole week of just them trusting you to go out and do your own thing, and then seeing your programme come together and being like, once it's over, you know what, I kind of do know what I'm doing. You do sort of feel that sense of pride, and also, it's a nice sort of final week with all the different trainees. It feels like the end of a school year, like the end of exams or the end of uni, when everything comes together and then you all go off in your own separate ways to different jobs. But I think that them just giving you the ability to go off and do, you can do it now, away you go and knock yourself out, I think was definitely the highlight for me.
And Maria, for anybody who's sitting watching or listening to this and think, oh, actually that's something I could be interested in, what advice would you give them, particularly around preparing for application process and that sort of thing?
I think I'll first recycle a bit of advice that I got from Stuart Robson whenever I came on a newsroom visit to UTV as a student, and he said, if you think that you can do this, then you can. And I think the first step is believing that this is the opportunity that's right for you, regardless of what kind of background you're from. Like, I'm 27, this is not my first job. And I think, as Jordan said, this is not just something for people that are leaving school or uni, although it's also open to students as well. I think if you have the interest and the drive to make this opportunity work for you, then don't be afraid to go for it. I'd say also give yourself some time to think about your answers and fill out your application, a few days just to let the ideas marinate.
Leave it to the last minute. That's probably a good piece of advice.
Maybe not quite an inspiration, over-egging it.
And yeah, I think as well, just making sure that you're engaging with the content of the region, not only that you're applying for, but all the other regions and nations as well, as broadly as you can across the scope of digital and television output. And I think as well, you know, just look at the previous examples of other trainees who are sharing their advice and experience, and just try to soak it all up like a wee sponge.
That's really good. It's really good advice. And on the subject of former trainees, if you had one piece of advice, you've been through the process. You're a couple of years in now, Jordan. What do you think is? What would you say to somebody who's considering a career in journalism?
I think my main piece of advice is go for it. I think a lot of the things that have came my way, and to get to the position I'm in, a lot of the time is just from taking opportunities. I could have left that traineeship and not applied for it because it was last minute. It's not worth it. Sure, something else will come up, and I wouldn't be sitting here. Or I could be offered, once I was in the job, to go and film a certain story on a weekend, and I could have said no. It's not worth the effort. It's a weekend. Can't be bothered. And I think that, to me, is, and I've seen it in other people and other trainees and other journalists in general, is take any opportunity that comes your way. If you want to be a journalist, go for it. There's no harm in applying. Apply for the traineeship. Take it that step forward. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. I think is the best thing I've learned from being a journalist and from people I've seen around me, and how to get to where you want to be is just take every opportunity that comes your way.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd also say just not to be afraid of a bit of rejection, because I think there's not a person working in this newsroom or any other that hasn't heard a few no's in their time. And I think don't accept the first answer, because there's people that have succeeded on their second or third application, or they haven't been successful in other competitions for other roles. But I think just keep going and try again.
And develop that thick skin. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks so much both for joining me today. Don't forget, this is for the 2025 ITV News Traineeship, and there are some important dates for you to remember. The traineeship is for 9 months and starts at the end of September. If you are interested, you have to be over the age of 18 on the 29th of September, and those shortlisted will be invited to a one-day online assessment centre on either the 22nd, the 23rd or the 24th of April. You don't have to have a background in journalism, just an interest in finding and telling good stories. If you have a question, you can email newstraineeship2025@itv.com. The application process closes just before midnight on February the 23rd, 2025. And to apply, go to careers.itv.com. Links are on the screen and in the comments and descriptions of wherever you're watching or listening. Now, before we go, we will leave you with a film about the traineeship, which many of our current and former trainees, including our Maria, as well as colleagues from across the newsrooms, have contributed to. All the best. Thanks for watching, listening and subscribing. See you soon.
For 70 years, ITV has been an innovative commercial broadcaster, the largest in the UK and home to some of the biggest programmes in the world, like Coronation Street. And you could be part of it as we invite applications for the ITV News Traineeship 2025. And with our coverage of regional, national and world events, how about joining our team?
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to ITV News Time Tease. Tonight's headlines.
A vulgar display of violence. Far-right protesters attack police and passers-by in Sunderland and in Middlesbrough.
We have teams standing by to bring us the latest from across the most affected areas and from Westminster too. First though, let's cross live to our correspondent Peter Bean near the River Trent in Newark in Nottinghamshire.
Hello and welcome. You're watching UTV live at 6.
Good evening. These are the stories making the headlines.
Angry scenes and arrests made as pro-Palestinian protesters hold a rally outside Queen's.
Despite being resigned to life in the sidings, this Pullman is still very much in service.
They've done a lovely job.
Looks good.
It does, doesn't it? It's kind of like the golden era of rail travel.
Don't let me anywhere near those chandeliers. It would be an absolute disaster.
Oh, I know, and I bet the job's been made even harder by having Crony there helping in the background.
You are the weakest link, Alex. Goodbye. She was so up for a giggle.
She was. She destroyed you.
Well, that's only what you saw.
I enjoyed that a lot. Even you were tapping your foot. I saw you.
Okay.
The current intake have learned how to write and produce regional news bulletins and even report on air. Importantly, they've been helping with content for our website and for ITVX. We caught up with them on a training day at ITV Cymru, Wales.
Today we've been putting together a bulletin based on all the training we've had over the last few days. So the last few days has been about how to editorially judge what should go in, what shouldn't go in, what's the top story, what's the most important thing on the day, and putting that all together. And today we've done that to time, which has been really exciting and a little bit nerve-wracking. And I've actually done a live chat in the studio as part of that, which has been amazing, but also, a big learning curve.
We've been looking at everything from writing our scripts, finding our stories, outputting in the gallery, and I think I would encourage anyone to apply for this because it's honestly been one of the best experiences of my life, not only professionally but personally as well.
I feel like I've got a golden ticket to a world that has been otherwise probably quite difficult to get into, so it's a wonderful opportunity, a wonderful experience.
I'm visually impaired and I'm actually registered legally blind, and I think I felt a little bit shut out of the media industry previously. So to come into an environment where I've been really welcomed with open arms, and ITV has really backed up what they've said about diversity with action, and I think that's quite rare in journalism to find, and so I've not had any issues, and it's been a really great experience. This is an issue I face every day as a visually impaired person. In fact, just last week I was almost hit by an electric car while crossing the road on my way into work. I've been given loads of opportunities that I never thought I'd get so early on as a trainee. I've pitched and planned an exclusive story before Christmas. I've had my own package on air 8 weeks into the traineeship. It's just been a really great experience.
What I like about the traineeship is that it really encourages you to think about things that you might not have thought about. So say that if you had a set career in mind to be on screen, the traineeship encourages you to build a bit more skills behind the scenes, encourages you to play around the gallery, press a few buttons and really get into that more technical side of things. So for now, the future for me seems really open, and I think that's what's really great about the traineeship.
It kind of gives you the building blocks. You kind of need the foundations to go to be a production journalist or an on-screen journalist or a correspondent. Whatever you want to take your career, you need the skills here that you learn. So for example, like making a bulletin or writing a script or writing an online article, this scheme gives you all of that to be able to either stay with ITV in the long run, hopefully, or wherever else you want to go.
Charlie Stubbs, ITV News, Wrexham.
I'm constantly seeing former trainees who are now, well, for want of a better way of putting it, living their best TV lives. And just as importantly, that goes for people off screen. Somebody that was on the traineeship years ago is now, I'd say, one of the most talented programme producers in the group, and is regularly programme producing the ITV Network 6:30 News and News at 10. This is the place, if you bring the hard work, we'll bring the opportunity, and you can really make your dreams come true. That's no exaggeration.
The scheme is now open for 2025. You could work in one of our regions and nations or in the network newsroom. Our programmes are viewed by millions of people on air and online. So, do you have the passion and determination to get into news?
I think it's just access to so many incredible journalists who are always willing to answer your questions, especially when you're early career like I am. But also they teach you so many skills. So when I was a trainee, I learnt about self-shooting, how to write for television, how to write for digital, which is becoming more and more important. But also it kind of gave me opportunities that I never would have had if I hadn't applied for it.
I would describe the traineeship as fun, intense and varied. It really does cover all aspects of television journalism, whether that be your writing, your editing, your filming, searching for stories. It covers all bases to make sure you're really prepared to hit the ground running when you enter the newsroom.
I'm really proud with what I've achieved so far at ITV, and I think the traineeship gave me the best possible start. I'm hoping that I can just build on that as I develop my career with ITV.
And you learn all these different skills, so you learn how to use a camera, you learn how to edit, you learn how to write, and you do it in a really relaxed and safe environment, so you're encouraged to make mistakes. This is not broadcast critical, really. So you do it in an environment that's really safe, and then you learn from experts, and it's just a brilliant scheme.
One thing I'd say about the staff is that they were always contactable no matter where you were, if you know, whether you're in your region day to day and you had your team there, but also the people that trained us are also people that we can go to now and look for careers advice and things. So you build your own support network within the traineeship that continues beyond it.
The trainee scheme is open to everyone. You don't have to be a current journalist, but you must be passionate about news and want it to be a career. Jamie Green plans stories for ITV News Meridian and is a former trainee, one of more than 200 to take part since the scheme started.
I was a German teacher, but always had that ambition to get into journalism. So while I was teaching, I was doing my NCTJ qualification alongside, which is its journalism qualification. And while I was doing that, the advert for the traineeship popped up, which is when I decided to go for it and thought, actually, I need this kind of programme which doesn't assume loads of prior knowledge and loads of skills, and the traineeship fitted that perfectly for me to help me make that transition. Done a little bit of news editing, which has been really fun. So that's more on the day stuff. What are we going to do today? How do we make the programme work? And also a bit of reporting. According to the most recent figures, 35,000 people a year are referred to mental health services in Oxfordshire. It's been good to have that variety, and the fact that I'm still here, you know, over 2 years since I started the traineeship, I think is testament to how well it works.
We launched the scheme 20 years ago, and some of our class of 2005 are still with us today. Sally Williams started at ITV News Anglia and is now a weather presenter at ITV London.
Hello there, and a very good afternoon to you. Hope you're having a lovely Monday. Aren't these starts just beautiful?
The first thing we got was an extraordinary amount of training, which not everyone had the opportunity to get. So we got writing experience, doing lives, reporting, and all this is straight out of university. So it was a brilliant setup. And then we got an opportunity to go and see different parts of ITV. We talk about the family, but we actually got an opportunity to go and see network news and the morning news and different newsrooms. So I've gone on to report. I've done a year as a sports reporter, and now I've moved into weather and reporting. So I sit across both. It means that I do a lot of features, which is definitely where my passion is.
Some have stayed behind the camera, like Liz Fordham at ITV News Calendar.
The depth of training that we got in that year was incredible, and it gave me a really good start out in the industry and great contacts, and I managed to get a job straight off the back of it.
For the last 20 years, we've led the industry with a trainee scheme that is second to none. Let's hear from some of the most respected journalists in the country who were once ITV News trainees.
At least 10 people are dead in California as wildfires rage on. My dad was a postman, my mum was a social worker, but I really wanted to be a journalist, and it was the thing that really fired me up, and I didn't know any other way to do it other than being a trainee, so I could learn from the bottom up, and that's exactly what happened.
Why is it so important that African countries are able to thrive as hubs for filmmaking?
I've always had a passion for entertainment. It was something that ITV was very happy to nurture because it's not something everybody who comes into the newsroom wants to do. People often gravitate towards sport or politics or social affairs, and I just wanted to irritate celebrities on red carpets. So that was a wonderful space that I was allowed to grow in, and ITV were willing to say, hey, yeah, we're going to invest in you and give you some training, but also the opportunity to do as much as you can in what turned out to be quite a short space of time. Been with ITV now for coming up to a decade, and I don't have any plans on going anywhere else.
Good morning. We begin with significant developments from the Middle East and the Israel-Hamas ceasefire.
I became the sports correspondent at ITV West Country, so covering sport from kind of Cornwall to Gloucester for that region. I then went to ITV Wales as a reporter, and I went to the Football World Cup in Qatar for them and did the coverage from there with a very small team, just me, a camera and another junior journalist. So that was an incredible experience, probably kind of a highlight for me so far. And then after that, I was part of the team that kind of helped launch the ITVX network newsroom. That's kind of the streaming service that our news now goes on. And from there, I've become a general reporter for ITV Network News.
been challenging, but it's been incredibly enjoyable. And I look at what my friends do and the jobs they have, and I always think I'm very lucky to be where I am. I get to have so much fun, meet amazing people.
I don't think you need to think too hard about it at all. Just go for it.
So now it's over to you. We want to hear your story ideas, your thoughts on our coverage, and what you can bring to us. We are not looking for the finished article. You don't need a degree. We just want you to come and tell us the stories that matter to you. Applications open on Wednesday the 5th of February on the ITV Careers website, and you have until the 23rd of February to apply. Good luck and thanks for watching.